Now let's discuss the important signs of human trafficking. These signs can be divided into several categories, and it's essential to look out for them if you suspect someone is being trafficked. We'll cover the following areas: workplace exploitation signs, behavioral signs, physical signs, and signs in minors. Keep in mind that these signs are not meant to be a checklist, but rather indicators to help you recognize potential trafficking situations. Not every situation will exhibit all of these signs, and if you suspect something is wrong, it's important to report it, even if the signs aren't all visible. Your call could make a difference in someone's life. Let's begin with signs of workplace exploitation, which can often indicate labor trafficking. Victims in these situations are forced to work under exploitative and abusive conditions. Recognizing these signs can be difficult, but many of us might notice them without even realizing it. Here are some red flags to watch for. Poor living conditions. If you visit a place where workers live, such as temporary housing or an apartment, and notice overcrowded, unsafe, or unclean conditions, that could be a red flag. The space might lack basic necessities like heat, water, or privacy, indicating a potential problem. Withheld wages. Workers who are underpaid or whose wages are withheld may seem hesitant to discuss their income. They could appear financially distressed or uncomfortable when talking about pay, as they may be controlled by their traffickers and unable to speak freely about their financial situation. Fear of speaking out. Victims may seem afraid to speak up about unsafe working conditions or mistreatment. They might avoid eye contact, seem overly cautious when speaking, or seem fearful when questioned, often out of fear of retaliation from traffickers or employers. Control of personal items. Traffickers may confiscate victims' personal belongings, such as identification, phones, or other items, to keep them isolated and prevent them from seeking help or escaping. High security features in the workplace. If you notice unusual security measures, such as opaque windows, bars on doors, or locks on the outside of doors, it might be a sign that workers are being restricted and controlled. Worker owes large debt. If a worker mentions owing a large, growing debt that they cannot seem to pay off, it could be a sign of exploitation. This situation may trap them in a cycle where their traffickers control their ability to pay back the debt. These labor-related signs are crucial indicators of potential trafficking, especially when combined with other red flags. Behavioral signs. Behavioral changes in a person can also provide key clues. Traffickers often manipulate and control their victims to prevent escape. These behavioral signs can sometimes be more subtle, but still significant. Restricted freedom. Victims may appear to be constantly accompanied, unable to move freely, or exhibit a lack of personal autonomy. They might avoid eye contact or seem afraid to speak for themselves. Isolation. Trafficked individuals may be isolated from their families, communities, or friends, both emotionally and physically. They may be kept away from others to prevent them from reaching out for help. Controlled communication. Victims often have limited control over their communication, with traffickers closely monitoring or completely controlling their phone calls, emails, or social media activity. Fear and anxiety. Signs of anxiety or fear are common, especially when victims are questioned about their circumstances. They may seem paranoid, nervous, or terrified, particularly when interacting with authorities. Inconsistent stories. When questioned by authorities or others, victims may provide inconsistent or rehearsed stories, suggesting they are being coached by their traffickers to cover up the truth. Psychological manipulation. Trafficked individuals often show signs of psychological manipulation, such as low self-esteem, dependence on their traffickers, or lacking ability to think or act independently. Unusual behavior toward authority. Victims may react with distrust or fear toward authority figures, such as law enforcement, managers, or even social workers. This response is often instilled by traffickers to prevent the victim from seeking help. Next, let's discuss the physical signs of human trafficking. These are outward signs that can indicate someone is being exploited. Unsuitable clothing or footwear. Victims may wear inappropriate clothing for the weather or situation, such as a tank top in winter or heavy coat in the summer. This could be a sign that they are not allowed to make their own clothing choices. Poor hygiene or shelter. Signs of poor hygiene, such as unwashed hair, body odor, or dirty clothing, can indicate someone is being neglected or deprived of basic needs. They might also show signs of living in cramped or unhealthy conditions. Malnutrition or exhaustion. Physical signs of malnutrition or exhaustion, like emaciation, sunken eyes, dry skin, or constant fatigue, can result from overwork, lack of proper food, or sleep deprivation. Visible injuries. Bruises, cuts, burns, or other unexplained injuries might be signs that the victim is being physically abused or controlled by their traffickers. Tattoos or branding. Some traffickers mark their victims with tattoos or other identifying marks as a form of ownership or control. These tattoos are often placed in areas that are easily visible. Signs of substance abuse. Trafficked individuals may show physical signs of substance abuse, such as track marks or needle marks, which may result from being coerced into drug use as a form of control or as a coping mechanism. Lack of identification. Victims may not have access to their identification documents, or their IDs may be controlled or even stolen by their traffickers. In some cases, traffickers might have provided the victim with false identification. Signs in minors. It's crucial to be especially vigilant when it comes to minors, as they are often targeted by traffickers. In fact, it's important to note that parents, foster parents, and even trusted friends and family members may be the ones trafficking minors. This makes it all the more important to be aware of the signs and intervene when necessary. Here are some signs to watch for in minors who might be involved in trafficking. Frequent school absences. A child who frequently misses school without a valid excuse could be a victim of trafficking. Traffickers may control their schedule, preventing them from attending classes. Decline in academics. Minors involved in trafficking often experience a sudden drop in academic performance. Their grades may decline as a result of the trauma they're experiencing or due to a lack of focus. Unexplained wealth. If a minor suddenly has expensive items like jewelry, electronics, or large sums of money, without a clear explanation of where they came from, it could indicate exploitation. Behavioral changes. Victims may exhibit sudden mood swings, withdrawal from family or friends, or signs of depression or anxiety due to the trauma they're enduring. Inappropriate relationships. Minors may form relationships with much older individuals who seem to have control over them. Sometimes, parents or guardians may unknowingly facilitate or overlook these exploitative situations. Secretive behavior. Trafficked minors often become secretive about their activities, whereabouts, or friends. They may be hesitant to talk about their day or who they associate with. Substance abuse. Using drugs or alcohol as a coping mechanism for the trauma is common in trafficking victims. Traffickers often introduce drugs to make the victim more compliant. Exploitative work. If a minor is involved in adult work, such as sex work or forced labor, instead of engaging in age-appropriate activities, they may be a victim of trafficking. Excessive extracurricular activities. Minors may excessively participate in extracurricular activities as a means of avoiding their trafficker or escaping their situation at home. Fear of authority figures. Children may show a fearful or distrustful attitude toward authority figures, such as teachers, social workers, or police officers. This fear could stem from threats made by their trafficker or from being manipulated by complicit family members. Now that we've covered the signs of human trafficking, It's important to hear directly from someone who has lived through this horrifying experience. A survivor of human trafficking will share her personal story, offering a deeper understanding of the realities of trafficking and the resilience it takes to survive. Her story is a powerful reminder of the urgent need for awareness and action in our communities.
Well, I was a single mother at the time, and I was 21 years old. And so I had been working, like odd jobs, manufacturing jobs, which just didn't pay a lot. And so I was, trying to move into my own place. And of course, I had my son at an early age. And so I really needed the extra money to make sure that, he was able to go to daycare, buy the necessities that we needed. A really close friend brought me into, I'll say, a party. It's like a party. And I knew at this party we were going to discuss how to make some extra money. And so as I walked into this party, it was men with large sums of money stacked on the table, and that alone just got me excited. Like, what? I could possibly have this? And I'm just thinking maybe it's some type of job or, something not illegal, okay? I was just excited to be in that room and be around it. But by the end of the night, I was posted on Craigslist to sell my body. I did see red flags, but like I said, I didn't even understand what was going on. Like, I knew that I was selling my soul. I felt bad every time the transaction happened, but I really didn't understand what type of danger I was putting myself into. But I just knew I was scared every time I done it. So day in and day out, I went to this 9-to-5 job, and no one could understand the pain that I was holding on the inside. I was very good at hiding how I felt. I had learned how to mask pain, sadness. And so I always came in with a joyful face. It's still kind of hard for people to know if I'm struggling today because I just try to smile through it. I want to, fake it till you make it. But if the employers or if the supervisors were informed about human trafficking or even just trained on what to look for, if you see something, say something, I do believe that they could have known because I walked around a lot with my head down. What would I like for the trainees to take away from this program? Well, first off, don't be judgmental. Take in as much as you can, because a lot of things just don't sound the way you were raised, or like when you hear my story and you hear someone, just don't be judgmental. Try to take in as much as you can. Respect what you're hearing, because a lot of these women have been through so much trauma that it is difficult to tell anyone, let alone a supervisor. You don't want to be judged. And so I just say, come into the training with an open mind. I'm excited that this could stop some of the traffickers. I'm excited that women will be able to get their voice back. I'm excited that women will be able to become, also men as well, but I work with women, that we will be able to have our voices back and we'll be able to be heard. So many great people connecting and just filling in those spaces that I wish that I had when I was 21 years old. But that's okay, because it's another 21-year-old that is going to need our help, and I hope and pray that we can be right there to help her.
How to report. If you suspect human trafficking, it's important to report it as quickly and safely as possible. In Tennessee, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation has set up a dedicated human trafficking hotline to help. You can reach the TBI Human Trafficking Hotline by calling 1-855-55-TNHTH. Here are some steps to follow when making a report. Do. Try to remember and report as many details as possible. The more information you can provide, the better the authorities can assess the situation. Include details like the date and time you observed the situation. If possible, provide the location of the suspected trafficking activity. Note the number of suspected victims involved. Try to estimate the age of the victims. This can be important when assessing the situation. One of the most powerful things you can do is offer a simple but life-changing gesture. Sometimes a compassionate question, like, "Are you okay?" is enough to make a victim feel seen, heard, and believed. This act of care could make all the difference in their life, and in some cases, it could be the difference between life and death. While reporting and reacting is important, it's equally important to remember what not to do when you suspect human trafficking. Don't put your safety at risk or attempt to become involved in a dangerous situation. Always prioritize your own safety. Don't assume the duties of law enforcement or trained mental health professionals. Leave those responsibilities to the appropriate authorities. Don't ask a suspected victim too many questions. Overloading someone with questions might make them feel uncomfortable or threatened. To prevent additional trauma to the victim, leave the interview to mental health professionals, law enforcement, or legal experts. Thank you for completing this TBAT training and for becoming a partner in the Tennessee Businesses Against Trafficking Initiative. By working together, we are strengthening our collective ability to fight human trafficking and create safer communities. Your participation is vital to making a real difference in the lives of those affected by this crime. Together, we can stand up against trafficking and protect the vulnerable.